Hi, Steve. It's welcome to the show. It's You're Planet, and it's good to see you, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. Looking forward to this.
No worries, no worries. So yeah, so the you got a blog, book blog, haven't you? Called Book to the Future. Is that correct?
The one, yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
And tell me about a little bit more about that then.
yeah, sure. It's been going on for about 11 years now. I've taken a little bit of hiatus of late, but yeah, it's I'm planning to come back to it, so still going strong.
Hmm.
Um, the main crux of the blog is with the title is about books. So I pretty much review everything I read, and generally just talk about books and have a rant here and there. And also any sort of travel things I do, which obviously COVID's hit recently, but before that, we've spent a lot of time in the Philippines. So with the wife, I lived over there for 18 months. So there was always lots to photograph there, and a few of my other travels to Europe and America on there as well.
Hmm.
So a bit of everything really. I just try and keep it interesting for a sort of decent selection of people.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. So tell me a bit more about the books then that you're reading. Is it more like fiction or science fiction, or what kind of things do you like to read?
Absolutely anything apart from like Blues and Bloom's romance, which I avoid. I will go. I think one of the things about the blog is that people don't know what I'm going to do. So one day it might be a kid's book like Carrie's War, and then the next day or the next time I review will be a philosophy book, maybe Plato, Bertrand Russell. Go for everything in between: travel, fiction, crime, literary fiction, history, geology. Yeah, one of my favorite books, obscure books, was Hymns and Hymn Makers of Denmark. Um, exactly, it's a nice random book. I thought no one's going to have read that. No one's going to want to read that most likely. So I'll read it for them so they don't have to. And
Okay.
it's more interesting than you think as well. It
Yeah.
really was. So
Yeah.
yeah, I got to know about some 12th century Danish people, and they sort of a bit about their history. So I thought that's good. You don't really get to hear a lot of Danish history, especially around these parts, I suppose. So it's good to push the comfort zone.
Yeah, it's interesting. That yeah, definitely, it's unusual, and so but it's also read quite well, quite fluent. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's been translated perfectly well. So yeah, it's one of those books where you just start it and just fly straight through. So I enjoyed that one. Another interesting one would be post-war reconstruction in Australia, which was surprisingly interesting. Uh, and also, what was the other one? The geology of the Lake District. It had little fold-out maps and everything. So second-hand bookshops, mate, you can get some crazy titles in there.
Yeah.
Lovely obscure.
Yeah. So is it like charity shops that you go to get them and things like that as well, then, or?
If I'm forced to go on Amazon, I will if I can't source a book. But I would rather go to the real bookshops. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'll go to second-hand shops, charity shops, Waterstones if I need to as well. If I need to, but I'd rather sort of support the small businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's really good, mate. That's really good. And so, what gave you the idea of actually having the blog? Then, what made you want to do the blog?
The main reason to begin with is that I didn't really have many friends who read books, and the friends who did read books sort of read bestsellery books, which I wasn't that interested in.
Hmm.
And I was sort of pushing my own reading boundaries at the time. I had a friend, Chris, and he got me into authors like Calvino, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Bertrand Russell. So I was really pushing the boundaries of what I was reading and trying to go further into all types of literature. Whereas other people were quite happy to read bestsellers. So I thought I need to find some friends who have the same sort of taste in books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sort of talked to people from all around the world. It took a little bit of time, as you know, to sort of get a following and to build up connections. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I've talked to friends in Australia, Ghana, a lot in America as well, the Philippines, so India. You can get people from all over the world, and they all have the same interest. So I was like, excellent. And I've kept a lot of those friends now for a good 10 or so years since we started chatting, which is nice to always have those connections.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, how many followers have you got then, Steve?
I think it's about 3,500. So it's
Uh,
not a lot in terms of what you'd see on a YouTube channel or on Instagram or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, being that it's long form reading, I think a lot of people tend to just drop on a blog to read an article, and unless they've got their own blog, they're less likely to follow and subscribe and like and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm quite proud of that, and I think I've got 160,000 views over that time as well. So again, it's not stellar in terms of what some people do, but yeah, he's happily ticking along. You get the opportunity. Can't complain.
Right, I can't hear you. Your microphone's gone a bit muffled, mate.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, mate. Yeah, sorry.
My fat fingers over it. Do apologise.
It's okay, no worries. Yeah, that's fine. And so what's your best books? Obviously that you read. What you say your top 3 best books are at the moment?
That is a challenge.
Okay.
To answer. What a diffuse question.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
love War and Peace, the Russian classics, and Life and Fate as well, and Stalingrad, the book that goes with that. They were ridiculously epic, monumental books, and books I want to read again. In fact, I read it when I was working with your good self. I read a 900-page book in 3 weeks, getting the bus to and from work. So, so I'll give you an idea about how long I was on the bus. But yeah, it was really good to sort of get into a book and smash straight through it and have a lot of reading time. So, yeah, those two. I think something like A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens, of course. It's a short story, but so perfectly formed. I love that. This is my top 3. I mean, there's so many books. So I'm sort of looking at my bookshelves now over the top, and I can see Emile Zola and Ray Chandler, John Steinbeck's East of Eden. It's like 3 books. I can't pick 3. I really can't.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, it's good choices though, definitely. Yeah, and War and Peace and all that kind of thing. Russian, because obviously my wife is Russian, so my wife will be definitely happy with that choice, definitely. And yeah. Say again.
Interesting. I lost my copy at one point. I don't know how you lose a copy of a 1,500-page book, but I did. My missus picked me one up a couple of years ago, and I was actually going to read that again on the way to work, but I wasn't allowed to take it out of the house in case I damaged it. So I was like, probably a good thing for my back as well. So that's again on the list. So excited to.
Absolutely. And tell me a bit more about your travels then. So what's your best places? Philippines, obviously one of them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've met the wife there and everything. So absolutely has to be the number one choice. I also in America for 3 months on the west coast, up in Washington State, and I also visited there on the east coast and saw my auntie in Boston. So got a bit of a feel for both sides and the weather and stuff. But I find America's like I've seen it all on TV. So when I got there, I was like, it doesn't feel like I'm visiting a new place. Amsterdam was a bit hazy, as you can probably imagine. Berlin, I find that a very fascinating city because it seemed to be in a continual rebuild, almost like it was trying to get away from the past while preserving it. So there was a lot of, you'd see like a lovely building, with glass and steel structures that there all are these days. And then next to it, you'd see a bit of the Berlin Wall, so you could sort of, the old meeting the new. So that was a fascinating place. I absolutely loved that. But yeah, apart from that, the Philippines, of course, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous beaches. I hiked a lot of mountains over there, 19, I think it was.
Wow.
So yeah, that was good too. And that one, we did 15 peaks in over 3 days, and we went into 3 different states, and it was the middle of summer, so it was 37.5 degrees.
Wow.
And it didn't get to the last day. I was about 20 minutes from the end, and I just sort of sat down and said, I can't hydrate. I can't do it any longer. So relaxed for a bit. Got to the top, and the first thing I did was put a beer in my hand. So I thought, well, there goes the hydration more. But I've made it, so I'll.
Excellent.
My last place.
Again, mate. Sorry. Say again.
Indonesia. We went to Bali as well, so
Okay, yeah.
that was nice. But yeah, they're a little bit pushy when they see the foreigners come in. It's like they want you to buy everything. They want you to spend your money there and then. And it got a bit tiring for me. I was like, I just want to enjoy my holiday. I don't want to be hassled everywhere I go. It was 5p ice cubes as well in one place if you wanted ice cubes. So that was where I drew the line. I'm like, come on, it's ice cubes. What's going on? So yeah, that was definitely an interesting place to go and a culture shock for me.
Yeah, yeah. And what about food wise? What's what do you enjoy food wise in these different places?
Well, you always have to go for the local things. The stuff that's always stuck with me is the Filipino food, of course. Absolutely gorgeous. You've got your things like adobo, which pop round one day. We'll cook it for you, mate. You'll love it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, so you're walking past at night, and someone will be on the barbecue, and they'll just be wafting the smell to you. And you go over, and you can have chicken intestines, chicken feet. Yeah, the chicken intestines are really, really nice. I just hope that they've been cooked well. The one thing I didn't like was balut. That was chicken embryo.
Right, so your microphone's bad again, mate.
Oh, sorry. Balut is chicken embryo.
Right.
So, and when you open the egg, it's there half formed and sort of looking at you. And on my first night there, I was challenged to eat some. I think it was a sort of a test, a family test to see if I was worthy. And so I had to get a little bit drunk on brandy first. But I managed to eat it. I felt the beak crunching and some feathers tickling my throat as it went down. But I managed to eat it all without throwing up. So I don't remember what it tastes like to this day. I just remember the horror of trying to get that last bite down without bringing it all back up.
Oh man, that will be a nightmare for me. Yeah, definitely. And like grubs as well, people eating grubs or things like that. It's no.
It tastes lovely, but I couldn't do it. I think in Vietnam they have like sort of really big bugs that they sort of fry or barbecue or what have you, and they're like really massive ones that you can eat. But yeah, I'll stick with me rice meals with nice meat and things like that, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And tell me a little bit more about books again. Then, so what about your worst books? And what would you say are the worst ones that you feel like, oh God, I just can't finish this, and that's it.
Things like the Da Vinci Code, I absolutely hated that book for its sort of annoying simplicity and sort of freestyling of plot. 50 Shades of Grey, I agreed to review while drunk, and then my friend said, "Yeah, I need it back in 2 days," so I had to sit and read it like after I finished work, and that was just awful. I reviewed them both. Again, telling people that I read them so you don't have to.
Okay. Yeah.
Those were the worst. I did read again for the blog. Someone brought me sort of one of the Mills and Boon type romance books for my birthday, and as I review every book I've read, yeah, I had to read it to review it. Oh, it makes me shudder. I mean, that sort of erotic writing is not, I'm sure it could get certain people at a certain time, but yeah, it just wasn't something I could get myself into. Really,
Well, I mean,
probably
like,
could.
yeah. Well, 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, obviously when it came out in the cinema, we just thought, everyone's talking about it, so we'll go and watch it. And but really, I'm just thinking, as I came out of it, thinking like I just spent about almost like 2 hours of my life just wasted. And then just to think about it, if it was a poor guy also like to like put women in handcuffs and do whatever, it would not be a famous story. It wouldn't be a good story for anybody. I think.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I always found it a bit strange. Like women are like, I want to be independent and all that, and that's fantastic. But then they go, "Oh, 50 Shades, that's a good film." Why? Isn't that against the whole idea of feminism? Because you're just sort of staying with someone and doing all that stuff, and they're essentially just sort of bought you. It just seems it's not my cup of tea. But it's like you can't have it both ways. Do you want your independence? Do you want to be someone with money who wants to control you? It's up to you, but you can't have it both ways.
Exactly. Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Just yeah. Anyways, yeah. And also you read my book as well. Thank you very much.
Yep, good book, good book.
Yeah. And thanks for the review as well. I really appreciate the honest review as well. That's really good of you. And yeah, so what you generally thought of it, and just tell the listeners what you thought of it in general.
Yeah, it's reading Paul's book is like having a chat with a mate down the pub. So you're reading the book, and yeah, it's just a chilled out chat. It meanders every so often, but that's great. It'll come back to the point. I think I said in the review that you're like you're a bit like Proust. You go off on tangents, but you do rein it in. We don't have 12 pages of you listening to church bells or anything like that. But you will sort of wonder something like, but yeah, it's sort of like the relaxed chat. And that's what I like about it. It brings you into it. This is how it is.
Oh, I
Yeah,
can't hear
yeah.
me. Sorry,
Oh,
microphone.
yeah, I'm just going to
Sorry.
plug in again. No, you're all right, mate. You're all right.
Yeah.
It reminds me. Um,
Yeah.
our internet. I mean, I don't know if I'm in a dodgy part of the house, but the internet seems to just disappear at some point.
No worries.
But yeah, you're such a personable chap that it's sort of easy to sit down with a book and then fly through 50 pages and be like, wow, okay, that was quick. I wasn't expecting like to sort of just have the one more page effect, but yeah, very enjoyable, mate.
Thank you. Yeah. And what about your imagination when you're reading? Do you like can like go off in somewhere and imagine it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean that some of the best books do that. So like for example, Narnia. When you read the first book, although that was published fifth in the series, but it is the first book where Narnia created. Millions of people have probably read that, and we all see a different Narnia, which I think is amazing. We all have our own personal Narnia, but even things like Lord of the Rings before the films came out, it's all visual, and it's strange how you can read. You're looking at the page, your mind is taking you to places and conjuring things up, and it's all entirely yours. No matter how many other people have read the book, how many times a certain thing's been described, you'll always have your experiences that no one else will have, and you'll see it all differently. And then trying to explain that to people is challenging. But yeah, it's just to go to these places as well. Some of Stephen King books, especially his Dark Tower book, his last Dark Tower book has some really good visuals. Which you just think to yourself, oh, yeah, I'm reading something here, and it's just what an epic sort of landscape is created. So yeah, I can easily go away, and I suppose life is stressful at times. So yeah, and any sort of escape is good, especially one that's you can keep coming back to, carry with you, rather than having to worry if my phone's going to die or whatever. Watching something, it's like, yeah, my book. I'll read that. Really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So tell me a bit more about do you have like Kindles, or do you do audiobooks as well, or is it just going to be something you can actually physically page turn?
Yeah, it has to be physical, the physical book. I have read a few on Kindle when people have sent me review copies of books, which I understand they probably don't want to, fork out money to send it to me, and it's that's fine. I'll just take it a PDF. But I always say to people, if you do want to send me a hardcover copy, that's fine, because people see me reading it, so it's like free advertising.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not just like the feel of a book as well. It's the smell of a book. And when you open the pages and you'll close the book as well, those blank pages, I think we can don't always get on a Kindle. Those signify something. It's like the sort of calm before the storm or the calm after, as you just sort of take everything in. So yeah, I do love to have a physical book, something that I can keep on. So even if you don't read it for years, you can every so often when you look at it, you're like, I remember that book. It was the summer of whenever, and I had a great time reading that. I can't wait to read it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you written a book as well, there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm in the process of finishing a book. I've been in the process of finishing it for about 6 months now, so I really do need to actually get it finished and get it sent out, get it out. So it'll be a self-published purely because I don't think many publishers are interested in poetry because it doesn't pay enough. it wouldn't get them enough money back, and that's fine. I just want to get something out there in general. So hopefully that'll be out soon.
Yeah.
And when I'll drop you a copy, mate.
Thank you. That'd be lovely. Thank you. Yes, please. Yeah. So what's the book about?
So it's a sort of poetry collection that I've written over the years. I'm not a big prolific poetry writer, but so when I get an idea, I tend to stay on that idea and just, poke away at it until I'm happy with the result. So there's a lot of different things. There'll be some observations, for example, walking around a city at night, or watching a girl read, and then there'll be other ones where I'm sort of just generally ranting about things. But yeah, everything I've tried to layer up. So some I've picked big fancy words for, and others just simple words. So I'll try and like make it a mix and hopefully people like it. As I've changed my writing style over the years as well, so it will be a mix, and I've tried to sort of mix them in a way that I feel flows. But I keep changing my mind over that as well, because it's one of those. I'll be picking at it until it's released, and then I'll be like, right, too late now. Just forget about it.
Yeah,
It's done now.
Yeah, get it out there, definitely. And also recommend Sasmic, the ones that did my book for me. They were very, very good in publishing it for me as well. So worth trying if you wanted to be that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we did talk about this before. Yeah, and I completely forgotten about that. So I appreciate the reminder. Yeah, I'd definitely look into that more. I think I'm just sort of focused on getting it all written and it's done.
Oh yeah, sorry mate, my screen keeps going. Sorry, I don't know why, but yeah. And also tell me a little bit more about books. And when you get inside the book, have you found anything inside a book? Anything like oh, they left that, a note, or anything like someone's written things inside it, or anything like that?
Yeah, when I get secondhand books, I try to make sure there's nothing written inside.
Okay.
I tend to just make notes in a notebook so I can write it up for the blog. But I did once find a poem that someone had written, and I sort of tried Googling it and I couldn't find this poem, but there was a watermark on the paper, a really obscure, I think it's some sort of German bank. And so I spent a bit of time going down the rabbit hole trying to trace this paper to find out where it might have come from, and there was no success, sadly. I did drop it out on the blog as well. This is years ago now, asking if anyone had any information, which no one did. But when I asked about a book that I've been trying to source for years, a kid's book, and I couldn't find anything, someone came up with someone reading it on YouTube like less than a day later. So I was like, okay, so it's giving people some poor information sometimes works out for your benefit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And there's also another book that a lot of people gave a bit of a review about it on YouTube, but there was like lots of comments about it. It was Harry's wife, Prince Harry's wife. She wrote a child's book, and it was slated. Have you heard about that at all?
Yeah, I've heard about it. It doesn't sort of grab me as something I want to read. I did have a flick through it in Waterstones at one point, I think, or W.H. Smith, just a little flick. I thought, no, I'm not going to read that. My daughter's not going to read that. And then I went and found some book about a star, because my daughter loves the planets. She names all the dwarf planets. She's not even 3 yet. And she could tell all the dwarf planets in the solar system. So yeah, I tend to get books on astronomy now. Kids' books, of course, but lovely stories that I enjoy reading myself, which I need to review again. The books are piled up for the blog. That's it. Never ever stop. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. And so, how many books in total have you got in your house at the moment? And would you say how many books would you have in total?
Not that many now. I've probably just got 150 to 200 books. I did have 3,000 before I went to the Philippines. I anticipated staying there a lot longer. So most of the books ended up being passed on, and I kept like a couple of boxes of the ones I really treasured. So yeah, that was a bit sad. But now we're back in the UK, and my collection starts growing again, and it's like.
Okay, yeah. And is any ones that's worth a lot of money these days, do you think?
Not really. I'm not one of these people that wants to get like a a book that's worth much, because it's you just end up not wanting to open it because it'll depreciate in value. I think I got a first edition Tolstoy, but it's a first edition of a certain imprint. It's not. I think it goes for about 20-25 quid. So it's not like massive money, but for me, it's all about the pages themselves. So as long as I'm enjoying the book, I'm not really fussed about the money aspect. As long as I can afford to buy it, I'm happy.
Absolutely, yeah. And tell me a bit more about your poems then. So what inspires you mainly to do poems? Is it more angst, or is it more about joy, or?
I think it's not really either, because I don't write very much. It's sort of, if I get an idea in my head, I'm just like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. I feel like I can write something, and then I'll just work at it. I'll just spend about 3 or 4 hours just doing writing it down, rewriting it, changing the lines and everything else, editing it, giving it a good bit of abuse until it's done. But yeah, I think it's just when something pops into my head, and I'm like, yeah, you can write a poem. But I think I've only written like 50, and 50 going in the book, should I say,
Yeah.
or maybe a bit less. So it's not like I write tons. I think I used to write a lot more back in the day when the blog first started, and then since then it's been every so often now. I've only stuck certain ones on the blog, but yeah, the ones that have gone on the blog will be reworked and done again with a sort of more experienced eye. And then I've added a lot more that never made it to the blog, but I feel they're quite strong as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about your. Sorry, say again, mate.
So the reviewers will be the judge of that, not me. So I'm on the receiving end this time instead of dishing out the advice and things.
Yeah, definitely. And in regards to your blog, obviously your people that follow you, what kind of things are they saying, about your book reviews? Do they really enjoy it, and what are they saying in general?
Yeah, I have quite a lot of people who've been with me for a long time. So yeah, we sort of have a sort of nice core people, and then other people jump in and out. But people seem to like the reviews. They don't always like the books, but I think they appreciate the sort of variety that I will throw in there. Because I'll rant about how I'm obsessed with a certain topic, and there's all these books that I want to read. Then the next book that comes out will be something totally different to what I've just been on about, and I'll just go on a different tangent with my reading. So I think people like that, just the unexpected variety that'll pop up.
Absolutely. And what's the most funniest book that you read?
Yes. I think something like Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome was really funny. Diary of a Nobody. So Smith? Was it Smith write that? I might be thinking of something else. But yeah, Diary of a Nobody. Pickwick Papers. Again, Dickens. That was a good one as well. So I don't read as much comedy as I should do, really. It's one of my neglected areas. But yeah, I think every so often the Terry Pratchett book as well. Yeah, some of the earlier Terry Pratchett's were good on humor, and some of the Robert Rankins as well. So yeah, there is humor. The more I talk about it, the more I'm remembering books. But yeah, I suppose humor's not the aspect I really go for. If there's some in there, that's all good. But yeah, it's not something I could like go out of my way to find unless I find a good author. Again, like Rankin or Pratchett. I did think I read all the Discworlds, and my cousin's got those now. I gave them to her when I was going to the Philippines. So hopefully they're still there with all. I got the maps and everything, so they should quite a big resource.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's good. And what about thriller-wise? Do you read any like thrillers, or is it not your cup of tea either?
I didn't used to read many, but then I got onto the Lee Child books, so I've read the first 6 of those, I think now 7. Yeah, so I'm quite flying away. The reason that I got into them was that I was in Asda waiting for the missus, because she was like, I'm just going to shop. I was like, leave me with the books then, and take your time. That's fine. And I'd never read a child at that point, but his autobiography was out, so I read the first couple of pages, and he talked about how he's a big reader, and he started when it was about 2, going to the library, and I thought, libraries, big readers, I'll buy this book, and we'll see. It's gone off, those buy 3 get 1 free, something like that. Buy 2 get 1 free. So yeah, I picked that up, read that, and the collection started. So I think I've got 9 or 10 of his books at the minute. And they're nice, easy reads, despite the fact they're like 500-600 pages. They are very quick because the font's quite big. So yeah, you feel like you're really getting somewhere with them.
Yeah. Is it Jack Reacher books? Is it? Yeah. Yeah, and Tom Cruise. I've seen the film.
I watched one of the Tom Cruise ones, and I thought, you're supposed to be like a 6'7" person, and you're Tom Cruise. And yeah, to be fair, anything that's a book, I tend to prefer the book, except for The Princess Bride. I thought that made a better film than a book.
Really?
Interesting.
Okay, yeah.
But other than that, usually the book's superior. The Stand By Me, the film of Stephen King's The Body, the film is pretty much up there with the book, which is very rare that something's as good. I think I watched the film first, then I read the book, and the book had a little bit more detail at the end about the characters, so it won just on that. Otherwise, it would have been, an actual draw, which is very rare.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and and in regards to your blog, then, how do people find you? Where people can find you? Is it by an app, or is it on Google? How do you find you, mate?
If you go onto Google and type in the word book must, all one word, MUST for must and book as in book, I will be the top hit. So you can click on me straight on there, and immerse yourself in many obscure. I've got all the categories at the side, so you can have a look at which bits you want to have a look at, rather than having to just scroll endlessly. Hopefully, you'll find something interesting.
Yeah, and in regards to books to read in the future, what's your plans?
My plan is, I've got like a whole Doctor Who Target collection from the classic show, so I'm slowly working my way through those. I've read 5 of them in it because they're very short. So if I don't fancy reading a challenging book, I can have one at the side of my bed, and I can just dip into it every night. So there'll be that. I'm also reading at this moment the Immigrants by W.G. Sebald, which is a really good read. But yeah, I've got lots and lots to review, everything from sci-fi to classics. So it's really just pop along every so often and have a look what's new. Because even though I don't know what I'm going to review, at sometimes I'll have a look at all my notes, and then I'll be like, that one will do. Let's stick that one on.
Absolutely, that's really good, mate. Yeah, really good. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, and while I do, I'll have a bit of editing done for you, get some photographs in there and some clips even, and we'll get it published for you on YouTube and things like that. Okay.
Thank you. I'll be sharing all the links and everything. This is my first time being popular anywhere, so yeah.
It's good, mate. Yeah. Well, thanks for your time, mate, and I shall see you soon. All right, take care of yourself.
You too, mate.
Because
Take care.
I'm all
Bye-bye.
about those books, start reading. I'm all about those books, start reading. I'm all about those books, start reading. I'm all about those books. Yeah, it's pretty clear that I am really cool, because I'm reading, it's what I like to do. Cause I got that fiction that everyone chasing. All of these books take you so many places. I see those magazines, they making reading hard. They're great when time is short.